Aaron in Texas, excited. You believe that the Christian God is the one true God, and are you calling to give us the evidence of that, or what's the call?
Well, first of all, whatchamacallit, I didn't think I was going to get on the show so quickly. So it's nice to meet you, Jovan. It's nice to meet Jimmy. I knew Jovan. I've seen your show before, but I've never seen Jimmy. So it's nice to meet y'all.
Cool.
I want to be more cordial than that last guy. I'm not here to troll. So I would respect that we could have a conversation without it.
Excellent.
I genuinely want to talk, and that's what I'm here for.
Great. Let's do it.
So my statement that the Christian God is a true God, you asked for evidence. What do you classify as evidence?
I can tell you the things that have successfully met the burden of proof for me, and that there are categories and stuff. What specifically would work for God? Well, an all-knowing God would certainly know, but I can tell you that he has failed the threshold of any kind of empirical evidence. It seems to me that the only evidence we have for God would be anecdotal, and anecdotal evidence is not good evidence. It really just isn't evidence.
I need to be able to touch, see, smell, hear, or taste the Lord,
or be told otherwise. Have demonstrated, pretty much that, but or have it demonstrated to me a better method by which I can get to the truth of God's existence. Show that is a reliable method of getting to truth, and then use it to get there. But right now, it seems that all of the religious, especially the Christian ways, there is some parallel where you can just sub in another God or another belief, and you have no other. It's no different, and so it can get you to the exact same conclusion, no matter which God, meaning making it useless.
Because I would much rather, instead of you proving to us that the Christian God is real, I would much rather you try to prove that he's more real than the God that I follow.
So, well, you don't follow a God. I thought you were atheist.
I 100% follow a God.
Oh,
this is news to me even.
So Jovan's atheist, right?
I'm Jimmy. No, that was Jovan talking. I'm Jimmy. Know. I don't believe in God.
Voices too well.
Ooh, okay, do we have similar voices? I'm so sorry,
no.
Jovan. If people think we sound alike, that sucks. Sucks for you.
First of all, I guess that would. Y'all want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's two of y'all, so let me try to go. So first and foremost, I do disagree with the statement that you can just substitute and plug in any God if you have certain presuppositions. My first presupposition is that there is at least an objective God that would be set. So no, you couldn't substitute the Hindu God with the Christian God, because the Hindu God, which has multiple deities that have different belief systems and have different beliefs that are contrary to each other, could not possibly exist with my presuppositions. So that would eliminate that.
My God could, though.
You would also eliminate Buddhism, for example. You would eliminate that because Buddhism is a non-theistic religion that doesn't even prioritize gods.
However, it's non-mystical. So hang on. There are mystical versions.
Speaking.
Hang on.
You have to have a cordial conversation.
Aaron, absolutely not. We're going to already mute. You don't get to go on completely uninterrupted. And then what you're trying to request is the ability to gish gallop. Don't interrupt me so I can get my whole long list of things. So then if you, when you respond, aren't able to respond the whole list back to me, I've beaten you on the points you've missed. You may go 1 point at a time or not at all. Those are your options, Aaron. Regarding Buddhism, first of all, your Hinduism thing doesn't matter at all, because there are versions of Christianity you could give similar things to. You could say, like, the Mormon version of Christianity splits up the Godhead and creates multiple gods, and you could even say that there are conflicting beliefs within there. But there are also, as consistent as Christianity, versions of Hinduism, and it's going to be based on which Hindus you interact with. There are mystical versions of Buddhism, so whether or not they ascribe power to one individual, it doesn't make it false. It just means they have an alternative to it, and you're sticking there and going, like, basically your argument seems to come down to, if I presuppose I'm right, everybody else is wrong. And that's not of course, if I presuppose I'm right, everybody else is wrong too. But can you justify that presupposition? And why would you have any presupposition in the first place that you absolutely can avoid having if it isn't consistent? Now I will unmute you again, Aaron.
Real quick.
Oh, sure.
Real quick before we do, I just want to mention that we don't have to go through every religion, because my religion does not fall victim to the classic blunder of your presupposition. So.
All right, Aaron, you are now unmuted, and you can make your next point and not gish gallop.
Okay, but I all right. This clearly doesn't make any sense. I had not finished my point in the first place. If you guys are gonna gang up on me, that's fine, but you gotta let me finish.
No, I don't. I'm sorry, Aaron. No, I don't have to let you finish multiple points in a row. Again, I just explained to you what gish galloping is.
Points in a row.
I have stuck to individual rebuttals, and while I may have had multiple pieces of supporting evidence, it was individual rebuttals to yours. You are making multiple points of this one's false and this one's false, and as though we're going to isolate, and I take issue with the individual points. And by the way, if you had stepped in and asked, wait, can I rebut that to an individual thing I had made, you likely would have been able to. You don't get to multi-point it. You don't get to gish gallop. And I suspect you're not even listening to me in the first place, because your response when I unmuted you showed that you didn't listen to what gish galloping is, because you seem to have not understood and just made the exact same point as though you hadn't had it just corrected. So now if you would like to make your next single point, and if you go and continue past it, we are probably going to stop you to evaluate the one point.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and speak. And first of all, you're incorrect. I'm listening to every word you're saying. The fellow show host was just talking about, well, you have the false presupposition, which isn't fair. You can look at mystical Hinduism, which has specific beliefs that would be contrary to another Hindu that would be more united.
That wasn't my co-host. That was me, not really making your point about, not making your point very well about listening.
Okay. So my point is that there is a objective morality that I believe in. You don't believe in objective morality. So we never could obtain any type of agreement already. But you're asking me, how do I prove my point?
Hang on. Nope. That was a point you got to make, and you don't get to fly by it. You don't get to fire a bullet and go like, no chance to shoot back. First of all, I don't believe that the universe has
an enemy. Like, do you
Aaron, I see you as so far a dishonest interlocutor who wants to mostly complain about when they don't get their side shots on, because I think it's actually important. All right, we're going to mute you now because you now keep trying to talk over me. I think it is important to you to fire as many bullets as possible, but give as few chances to fire bullets back as possible. That way you can just mention later in a confirmation bias kind of way, well, I got 30 shots off, but they only got 10. So who won? They didn't even respond to those other 20 shots. I don't believe that the universe has issued any kind of objective morality, nor do I believe if God existed, would that be objective morality, because God would also be a subject. It would be subjective morality. God would be the one who chose it, and then you would adopt it. Nor do I believe that you actually believe in objective morality. I think you play word games with it, because the fact of the matter is that which you are calling morality, objectively moral, was something that was described to you by a person who heard it from another person, who heard it from another person. And I understand it's not that simple. There are multiple people, and you are choosing actively that morality. And a morality which could be chosen means that it has to appeal to you, that it has to make sense to you. So the way you chose your morality is the same way I chose mine. In hearing all of the information, I, a subject, went, this seems to be the most consistent and true with what my current understanding of humanity, ethics, empathy, and in your case, God, and whether that God exists or not, this seems to be the most consistent. So my moral position will be to pick this up. So whether it is at the perspective of you or God, there is no such thing as objective morality, period. Now, as far as whether something can be objectively moral or not changes, because that word moral has a definition. So once we agree upon what that definition is, so if I have made the case for secular humanism something will either be objectively consistent with that moral system or not. And because I think secular humanism makes the most defensible case for morality, I believe most people should pick it up unless we get a better defended one, and that would be a subjective process, and then the process by which we would evaluate that which is moral or not, it would still follow under objective parameters because the word is now defined. There is the thing that you tried to just skimp right over and act like the additional context and nuance wouldn't matter, and if you jumped right past it, you could get a shot off, and I'd be sitting there, and you could poison the well and have the people who are in here listening going, oh, well, he just exposed that Jimmy doesn't even believe in objective morality, so why should I give a shit in the first place about what the points are that followed, because Jimmy didn't even push back. That is the method behind what your argumentation is, besides then whining about how much you're getting to argue. So if you want to actually have this as a couple of people, 3 of us to be more specific, having a conversation on equal footing, start treating us like you consider us your conversational equals, and stop with the flyby shit. Now I will unmute you.
You know what? You guys are full of shit, and you know it, because
Now,
I'm
Aaron,
trying to have
Aaron,
a conversation of equals.
All right, Aaron, we're going to go ahead and mute you. I just explained to you everything that was wrong with it. You didn't actually have a rebuttal to it. You just came back in with the complaining of, you guys are full of shit. If you want to rebut and tell us where we're full of shit, you are welcome to. If you want to say the flaw with what you just said is X, Y, or Z, that you are welcome to. But if you want to sit here and whine, instead of getting to how we know that the Christian God is true, or actually talk about the points being made, I have no interest in continuing with you, and my life will just go on. I will have forgotten about you by dinner, and I'll be in your brain for the whole week, I'm positive. Now you're unmuted again. Aaron, would you like to actually have the goddamn conversation?
Yes, I've been wanting to,
Great.
but you guys keep unmuting me.
Because you can't have the conversation honestly. So you've now been told the parameters of how to have it honestly. So now let's move forward and not try and take flyby shots and not try and like jump past another point before getting to the actual point we're making.
So this is y'all's show. Tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it exactly the way you want.
I already have, and you said you were listening to when I was doing it.
You were
we can
for
let
like 3-4 minutes.
So you weren't listening.
You didn't even let me speak.
So you weren't listening.
Aaron, let me just ask. We'll make this really easy. We'll make this really easy, Aaron. Do you believe
to slam dunk on people? Do y'all actually want to talk to people? People talk different. You guys talk different than I do.
Why, okay, Aaron, why did you interrupt? Why did you just interrupt Jovan, who was asking you a question?
I never was finished with a point. How could I interrupt?
You had fully stopped. Yes, you had fully stopped speaking. You had fully stopped speaking.
No, you don't. No, I didn't.
Yes, you had. You are lying. You can go back and watch the video.
Do you guys like have a majority supporter base or is it a majority hater base?
On this channel, who knows?
Listening to you guys.
Who knows?
Like you guys are just trying.
Aaron, would you like to make more fallacious arguments that are clearly all ad hominem, or do you want to get to the actual shit?
I just really want to know.
Hearings, what are you talking about?
All right, so we've muted him so you can ask your question.
Jimmy hasn't made a claim, so there are no red herrings he can make. He's not made a claim or a counter argument. So really quickly, Aaron, I guess you could say you made a counter argument, but I wouldn't really classify it as that. Aaron, I just need to know: do you believe that your morality is objective?
My morality, as in the Christian morality, yes, it would be objective.
Okay, great. Do you believe that there are certain things that are always evil or always immoral per your moral standing?
Yes, which I assume you're going to jump to a slavery argument?
I mean, I can jump to a litany of things, but I love that. Let's start there. Is slavery always immoral? Or is there sometimes moral to own another person?
Yes, slavery would be moral, and just because something is allowed under a scope does not necessarily mean that it is allowed by the God, therefore it is approved by the God. That's not proper. You guys do not have that correct position.
I'm sorry, can you show me another instance of something that God deems as a moral, as an immoral action that he allows for moral permissibility to?
He allows you to talk and slander him, yet you're not dead right now.
No, he doesn't allow that because I will be punished if he's real and I die. So that's not allowing that, right? I'm talking about when allow, I'm saying that he deems it.
We're talking about something else.
Hold on. When I say allow, I'm saying he says it is morally permissible. Do you know what it means to be morally permissible?
That it's condoned or what?
That God will not punish you for this. It's an action that God is okay with you doing.
So you're saying that if something is allowed, that means that is accepted.
Yes.
So
if I allow my child to throw a football in the house, that means I'm okay with that. That means I'm not going to punish my child for throwing a football in the house.
And let's also be clear, the God didn't just say, I allow it. He said, by the way, here's how to do it. Here's how to regulate it.
Yeah, he gave rules.
Here's when to do it. Here's how you can trick some people into becoming your slaves. Here's how you can manipulate others. Here's when you can, in fact, at a certain point, he commanded people. And let's be clear, a lot of early Old Testament and New Testament marriages were also forms of slavery. They were sexual slavery. You were considered the ownership if you were a girl of your father, and that ownership could be transferred to your husband. And so we're not talking about like he just didn't say anything, he just didn't stop it. It does, we're talking about him going, here's the actual regulations. Here are the people you should enslave. By the way, when you go and attack those people, here are the ones you should enslave and slaughter the other ones. It's again this thing of like, if your points are so strong, why do you have to be so, is it obfuscative about it?
Could you please say that word in a more plain way? I don't know what obfuscation means.
Why do you have to dance around and pretend and give a minimalized version of he just allows the slavery? When you and I and Jovan have all read the book, and we know it's much more than allowance. He regulates it, recommends it, tells you when to take certain individuals as slaves. Again, not just within chattel slavery.
What they should be, which you should sell them for.
Right.
They literally say, this is how much you should sell your daughter for.
And not just within chattel slavery, but also within the marriages back then. And then Jesus Christ, who apparently is talking about all the most important moral things, never mentions the gay stuff, but does want slaves to be better.
What are you talking about, the gay stuff? What does that have to do with slavery?
Oh, just that your side tends to think that being gay is super evil, but Jesus never brought it up.
Well, hold on. Let's stay on point. We're talking about one point at a time. To be fair to your parameters, we're talking about slavery here.
Yes.
I
was pointing out the contrast of that which Jesus found important and not important, and whether he endorses it or not.
I'm on Aaron's side. Jimmy brings up the gay stuff all the time, unprompted. I'm on Aaron's side for this.
I know. Of the three of us, I'm the one lone not homophobe.
But Aaron, do you understand the argument that we're... Oh, sorry. There was a bit of a lag there. Do you understand the argument that I'm putting forth to you? That if your morality is objective and you say slavery is objectively bad, why is it something that was morally permissible?
Your argument of why it was morally permissible is because, first of all, we work with a fallen world. If truly things are supposed to be acted upon by this God, which is out of space and time, right? We would all be gone because we all fall short of what we are supposed to be. When it comes to the position of slavery, yes, that is not something that is an okay thing. It is an unfortunate event that has occurred since the beginning of time. Every single person on this call and stream has an ancestor that was enslaved. That's just how unfortunate it was.
Who was freed
of how to
This is so silly.
Wait, Aaron, just really quickly. Who was freed from the Egyptians in the Bible? Who was freed?
The Israelites.
So the Israelites were all slaves. They were then freed from slavery. and then proceeded to all immediately then go and get slaves? And so God had to, because when God is giving Levitical laws, that's to the Israelites. The Israelites didn't own any slaves because they had all just been freed from slavery. So there were no slaves. They were all free people. But God told them, hey, you need some slaves? Go get them from over here. He could have just told them, no more slavery. But he didn't say that. Right, he said you can own slaves, which is kind of weird because they were all just slaves.
God's not powerful enough to overrule the culture of slavery when that's what the culture's already doing. So he allowed it. But please ignore that time he literally ended slavery in the Bible. Please ignore that time that he did have the power to do it once. But that's the thing.
The culture wasn't even doing it. Because the Israelites were not slave owners. Yeah. So they had to go out of their way to get slaves, a thing they just saw. Think about yourself as an Israelite. You just saw what God did to slave owners. He did a bunch of plagues. So in your mind, we shouldn't own slaves, because if we own slaves, God's going to plague us. Only for God to come back and be like, actually, yeah, you can. You guys can. I know I just freed you from that really terrible practice. Which so Aaron, you can put other people into this terrible practice.
Aaron, if you're willing to retreat into fundamentalism, there's actually a very good, easy answer for that. But you'd have to admit that it sounds real bad and real bigoted. Go ahead. Let's see what you got.
Well, first of all, we also have to actually approach what that term slave means, which in Hebrew, I believe it's Eva, that is more around.
There was Ebed meant slave.
Ebed.
Bro,
Ebed is the exact same word that they used for the Israelites enslaved in Egypt. And
do you want me to go get the book off the shelf about biblical slavery, though? Like, you're full of shit. None of the versions of slavery were fine. Even if you...
Jimmy,
none of the slavery was okay.
Wait, I want to hear his point.
All right.
Okay, so... if I'm not mistaken, it's Jimmy and then it's Jovan, right? I don't.
My name is God, actually.
Too distinctly.
It's pronounced Jovan.
Jimmy. Yeah, I think that voice right there is Jimmy.
Yeah, that's
You're
me.
not a very fair host, man.
Okay.
The other dude's more reasonable. I'm gonna give credit to the other guy.
Thanks.
I think I've been watching.
Not reasonable.
Hey, but check this out. Check this out, Aaron. I don't give a fuck, and we have 40 minutes left. And so because you decided to still do the thing you were told not to do over and over again, I am now muting you, and I'm going to lecture you until you hang up, and I'm not unmuting you in this call. There is no version of slavery, whichever word you like in there, even if you think indentured. I love the people who go in and go, indentured servitude is different. They're all bad. They're all wrong. Sexual slavery, commanded by God, also a major component. Wow, he's still on. I'm not kidding. I'm not unmuting
you. God also told the Israelites that they could beat their slaves as long as their slaves don't die. So, like, I don't know what kind of slavery is. I don't know. I ain't never heard of a serf getting his ass whooped, right? I have, but I mean, like, in the Bible.
If you actually wanted to be honest, you'd have to go with the fundamentalist answers of, well, it's wrong to have Israelite slaves. Because fundamentally, that's what the Bible is about. Thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill Israelites. Love thy neighbor means love thy neighbor Israelites. Thou shalt honor your parents, your father and mother, also just the Israelites ones. Thou shalt not bear false witness literally means two Israelites. And there are versions of all along the way in the Bible where clearly thou shalt not kill was not so much a shalt not. Thou shalt not any of them. And then obviously there's the dumb commandments. Thou shalt love thy God. These things that don't make a person a good person or not. They're just like God's jealous and needs you to be obsessed with him. And I've dated people like that where it's like, why are you not obsessed with me every moment of every day? And that's God. And we recognize that as a major personality disorder. And I'm tired of your BPD God insisting I be thinking about him 24 hours a day and fucking with my shit if I should go so much as 15 minutes without texting him. It's getting crazy.
Again, how fucked up must it have been? It must have been such a whiplash. I'm going to do, Jimmy, pretend to be Moses for a second and deliver me the news. I'm going to pretend to be one of the freed Israelites. Deliver me the news that God said we can own slaves.
All right, guys, listen. That was awkward, but you saw that thing I did with the ocean?
That felt like Mr. Beast for a second.
Y'all saw what I did with the water thing, that like splitting the thing, and then we just walked across. Now, listen, I know none of us are a big fan of walking, but we made it. We're here. We're good. I gotta tell you, it's great that slavery's over. But I was thinking,
it's great that slavery's over. Yeah.
What if, and hear me out here, what if it wasn't over? But you're not going to be safe. Don't worry, dude. You're not going to be safe. And you're going to not have to do as much work, and you're going to get all kinds of booty you never thought you would. Oh, yes. You're in the front with the cat ears. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't like all the Egyptians' firstborns all just die because slavery was a bad thing? Well, I thought that was...
So what we've done, we found a loophole. Everybody adopt out your firstborn to somebody else, and then no one has firstborns to die. And that's the loophole we found. Okay, I understand it sounds like I'm being a little anti-Semitic and Moses has become a lawyer. But in fairness, Moses didn't exist, so you can't be anti-Semitic toward him. That's how that works, right?
I don't think that's how that works at all.
I think that's how that works.
I don't think you can be. Are you saying like I could be racist to like a black character on TV because they don't actually exist?
Are you saying that if I don't go see Black Panther because I think that the Wakandan people couldn't be a superior civilization, that would be racist? Is that what you're saying? How is he still on hold?
Hot take. I don't think Black Panther's that good.
I didn't.
Second one's great. I don't think the first one's that good.
See it. No, I'm kidding. I liked the first one. Black Panther 2. What was that? The Wakanda Forever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was very good. You like that one?
That one I thought was a lot better.
Oh, you did?
I like that one a lot more. I just don't like when a Marvel movie ends with a character just fighting an off-color version of themselves.
Oh, I see that. But in fairness, that's like Marvel Comics. Like fucking Spider-Man's number one villain is Venom. You know what I mean? Like Doctor Doom is basically Iron Man, but bad.
It's terrible.
I got you. This is the conundrum of like being straight, is that you don't have other things to enjoy the movie for. Because I got to tell you, we bi men had no problem with Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan hugging each other and wrestling.
Crazy. Are you saying that you're fetishizing black men, Jimmy?
Those two, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
He's still on the call.
He's still there. Aaron,
I would let him back if he would tell me, if he would answer the questions I have about slavery.
All right, we'll pop it up. But Aaron, if you complain about it one more time, even though that there are adequate myriad examples on the line, and now even on this channel, of that, if you just engage honestly, you don't try to talk over, you don't try to obfuscate, you don't try to go, and in this case, you don't try to be so dishonest, you can have a plenty good time here. You don't have to agree with me. But if T, which if you've seen the calls from T, from Jovan and I and Arden and I this week, if T can have a good time here, anyone should be able to. We'll give you one last chance, but the moment it comes to the whining about what's fair about the call, I'm just going to unfairly drop you. Or mute you again. You can maybe stay on mute the whole call. Welcome back, brother of Moses.
I am free. Free at last.
Unfortunately, we did just reinstitute slavery, and we are going to subject you to it.
I was going to say, unlike all the people that the Israelites enslaved.
So
all right, go ahead.
Would you like me to continue?
I'll let you two. Since you respect him and not me, I'll let you. I'll silence myself for the remainder of the call. We have 32
Jimmy really
minutes
hates that
left.
a black man's taking the lead.
There are so many other qualities on top of those two that I dislike. The cat ears. It's all a thing.
You love the cat ears, actually.
Yeah, I kind of like them.
So, Aaron, I just need you to tell me if slavery is an objectively evil practice and it is always bad, and God did regulate slavery prior to him giving the okay for the Israelite people to own slaves. How is it that your morality is better than ours when yours is based on slavery good?
I never said that slavery was good, and nor did the Bible.
You didn't. You didn't. The Bible says slavery is. Oh, let me rephrase. The Bible says slavery is not bad.
It does not say that slavery is something that God is pleased in, or it doesn't say it is something that God enjoys.
If God didn't enjoy it, why would he tell people that they can do it?
Why did
right?
why did he reward his people with slaves, like the concubines for Solomon?
What do you mean? Honestly, when did he reward them?
God gave Solomon many wives and concubines, all who had no rights, who were sexual servants essentially to him, but with different levels of respect. But that is sexual slavery. God, as a reward for his wisdom and faithfulness, gave him many wives and concubines. God also commanded Abraham to have sex with and made Ishmael, the second biggest civilization, to fuck his slave. There's a lot of...
Not answered my question.
What was yours?
Do you have the verse?
Oh, I didn't even hear you say that.
1 Kings 3 through 5. I'm pretty sure it's 1 Kings.
To read it or what?
Go for it, Bubba.
Yeah, let me find the exact. You can read, but I'm going to try to find the exact part where he starts talking about the concubines, because it's.
Because I want to hear a statement that it says that they are gifted by God.
Sure.
Are you pulling it up, or do you need me to participate? I do think he's trying to set it up where even if it's very much implied, he's going to say, well, that exact language, I can pretend means something else. Because that's what it is. That's what it is to be a Christian, is to believe the Bible means everything you want it to and not what it says, and to ignore the scholarship. For example, as I think I was mentioning earlier, I can go grab the book from actual scholars on biblical slavery that establishes, it's just slavery and God was all for it, if you like. I think it's on the shelf in my living room.
Well, I would like to stay on topic. I'm barely even allowed to speak here, so I'd like to just stay on topic.
Was that a complaint?
No, I'm just.
I think it was a complaint.
No, I feel like that was an okay.
I think it was trying to do a little drive-by.
Jimmy, do you know what verse it is? Because I'm not going to read all of 1 Kings to try to find it.
Let's see. I will go and pull it up.
Okay.
I think it would have been 1 Kings. What did you say? 11:1?
I think it's 1 Kings 11. I'm not going to read all of 1 Kings to try to find it.
Yeah, sure. Or maybe I'm thinking of David also. This is the other problem.
Let me check. But while we look for that, Aaron, do you agree that if God says that you may do something, that's something that God deems morally permissible?
Like what example other than slavery?
Well, anything. If God says you may go out hunting, that would be morally permissible, right? Because God said you're allowed to do this.
Yeah, it would. Although the original purpose of us was not to eat meat, we are allowed to.
Sure, that brings me to a beautiful next part in the conversation. How is it that God can tell Israelites unequivocally, you shouldn't eat pork, you don't eat pork, eating pork is a sin, yet he couldn't say that about slavery?
So you're asking me why that's unequivocal, but the slavery isn't?
I'm just wondering why God is allowing for an action you said is evil. He's allowing an evil action to take place.
So I would say that was the purpose of how he told it to us when it came to rituals, that we were not to eat pork, which there was not a ban on it prior to that. So I guess for 1,000 years or so, there was no statement on that. And it was a matter of time. There's a statement in the New Testament where slavery was completely told not to be done.
Incorrect. There's nowhere in the New Testament anywhere that God disallows slavery. And in fact, multiple places in the New Testament does apostles like Paul say, hey, if you're a slave, you need to obey your earthly master, whether he's kind or cruel. And he tells slave masters, hey, treat your slave the same way. But he doesn't tell them, get rid of your slaves. He says, continue treating your slaves kindly. You should treat your slaves kind. But nowhere in the New Testament does God disavow slavery.
It depends how you interpret it. So there's just no statement I could say that would satisfy you.
Well, provide me the verse in which God. Provide me the verse in which God. Jimmy's looking for it. Yeah. Jimmy's the one who knows.
By the way, so it wasn't. It was David, and David inherited Saul's wives and harem. When you read about that in 12:8, and it does require actually consulting scholars to get the full context. The full context was that David inherited Saul's wives and harem when giving the verse is, I gave your master's house to you and your master's wives into your arms. So first of all, already pointing out that actually it wouldn't matter if it was only the concubines, but this implies it was. I had also mentioned that wives.
What was it again?
2 Samuel 12:8, that the wives also were in a state of, you don't have a choice, this is who you go with now. So it is still sexual slavery.
I gave your master's house to you and your master's wives into your arms. Mm-hmm. I gave you all Israel and Judah, and if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more.
And this is for David, right? Well, let me just read a little.
Yeah, this was David. The Lord sent Nathan to David. Nathan said, "Here, Lord, the Lord's giving you all this, and this is what the Lord of God Israel says." And he's like, "Here, take these ladies, and now they're going to be your wives," which is kind of weird because they didn't agree to that.
Not weird in the Bible, though, because we could also pop over to Numbers 31, which you can do it next if you like, Aaron. But Numbers 31 is where they command, kill all the men, kill all the boys, kill women who have known men, but take the young girls and that are virgins, essentially, and keep them for yourselves. And they are talking about keeping them for themselves. By the way, not as wives, because they weren't Israelites. They were talking about keeping the virgin girls as concubines. This is a commandment from Moses.
Yeah, I haven't got to that. I'm focused on this one. Hold on.
Okay, great. So we're just getting more examples of the slavery that was okay in the Bible and endorsed by God, and in this case, commanded by Moses over here. The one before had to do with God's rewards to David. I did mix up. Solomon, also one of God's elite, did have many wives and concubines, and was never, God apparently couldn't overpower Solomon.
I thought God punished Solomon for having, or he said that, like, he told Solomon, like, your wives or your concubines will lead you astray or some nonsense.
Yeah, he was like, too
much poontang for Solomon.
Meanwhile, you want to, if the argument then is, oh, that's God respecting his free will, apparently that's what he was doing here. But when he actually hardened the heart of Pharaoh so that Pharaoh wouldn't let the slaves go, because Pharaoh was going to let the slaves go, and God hardens his heart and stops him from doing so to make sure he's still the evil character he needs. There's not really a way out of this. The free will argument, God changes people's free will. God allows slavery to exist in cultures that have it. God literally ended slavery in the Bible.
The free will argument wouldn't matter anyway, because the free will has nothing to do with moral permissibility. So even if you made the argument that, like, oh, but they had free will to do it, I'm like, okay, but God's not going to punish them for it. That's the thing.
Right.
Who cares if they have free will for it?
Yeah, if there's no consequence. But in this scenario where these are the people that are supposed to be the elite, why is God only willing to change the bad guy whose heart was getting good back to bad, but not make the good guys be consistent? still point something out
Or
there.
and I assume Jimmy feels the same way. What probably happened is a bunch of people back in the early tens when the Bible was written wanted a way to justify their slavery to the people, so the people wouldn't talk back. So they wrote it into their religious code. It's like God allows of slavery. So if a slave said, "Hey, this is bad," they would be like, "Well, you can't say it's bad because God said it's good."
Go for it.
For both
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And just follow this statement for a second. If you want to or not, y'all don't have to listen. If you guys, without a doubt, knew for a fact that God was real, but you had to accept the things in the scriptures, would you do it?
It's two different
when you
questions.
say accept what? Like if
Right.
I knew God was real, and if the Christian God, the exact Christian God of the Bible is real, and I die and go to the pearly gates, I'm going to look him in the face and tell him he's a vain and vindictive son of a bitch, and I would rather burn for all of eternity than even put a remote iota of following into him.
We kind of talked about this concept in the last thing, though. It's kind of funny because the biblical God you cannot generate a solitary model for. It kind of is impossible for the biblical God to exist whole without doing here are the parts that are metaphor and here are the parts that are actual and all that kind of shit. So first we'd have to sit there and go, okay, you know for without a doubt that God is real. If I know without a doubt that God is real and that's been demonstrated, of course I would accept that he is real. Would I then think that he was a good dude if he had done most of the things ascribed to him in the Bible? Certainly not. I don't think it's that sweet of a thing when we know that people are redeemable and we know that children are stupid. They're basically pathologically like sociopaths until they hit adulthood, to kill a couple dozen of them because they were calling the prophet bald man or whatever, and to send a bear to go eat them. I couldn't sit there and go, I believe this God. I know this God's real. I accept it. But God be eating kids.
Maybe we would get along because I would have subscribed to some petty shit like that.
Could agree with him.
I think it's gross that I think that you don't agree with him, and you struggle to figure out how the words on the page don't mean what they say, even against scholarship. Again, the scholarship is going to tell you, no, it was slavery. God regulated it and at least implicitly condones it. Certainly never condemns it, despite the fact he takes time to condemn other things that are menial, like eating shrimp. Right. So I think that you actually also don't agree with him, because I don't think you believe in the God that is written on the biblical page. I think you believe in the God that's written in the biblical page after you've changed it a bunch and make it fit this narrative that he can't be this way, because if he is the way as he is written, he's clearly a douchebag. I'll give you your last thoughts, Aaron. I do want to get one more call in.
Well, am I allowed to still approach anything that you said right now, or are you going to get the new caller?
I am going to move to a new caller in a minute. I'm saying take your last moments, because we've already given you a lot of time and a lot of time to just read for a while, and we only have 18 minutes left in the show, so I'm not looking to stretch this out much longer.
Since it's my last words, can I complain or no?
No.
I'm already on the way out.
Yes.
Come on, let's be fair. I'm on the way out. Let
him complain. Yes.
I gave him more to complain about by dropping him. What did you think was going to happen? Shut the fuck up.
Damn, I wanted to see what he would say. You got to admit, kind of baller to ask you to complain at the last possible minute.
Not really. Not when you're sitting there going, I'm losing every element of this, and all I want to do instead is complain and hominem my way out of it. And so to finally be like, this is my last chance. Do I have a shot? I'm bored. I was bored with them forever ago.
Do I capture it?
Then he actually had to take 5 minutes to read